How you doing, Corey?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Corey, talk to us about what we got going on here today, what you're looking at, what we've been getting into.
Yeah, well, I'm with WPL. I represent DuPont Tyvek, and we're talking about the DuPont Tyvek fluid applied product.
We've all been blown away by the blower door scores and stuff like that, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but I mean, just the level of air sealing capability of this stuff, while we're also gaining that superior weatherization. Second to none of anything that I know out there. And that's a new, silkier version nowadays.
Yeah, we're calling it Fluid Applied Plus. It got reformulated, which actually made it easier to install from using more traditional equipment that everybody uses, like your standard 3000 type PSI sprayers and stuff like that. So it can be rolled or sprayed, but really the other part is the trowel grade version of it, which is our fluid applied flashing and joint compound. It is your seam treatment, your penetrations, your rough openings. It's what you prep the surface with so that when you roll this membrane over the top of it, you do get that monolithic system over the top of all that.
Right. And that one is just more dense and everything is basically been my experience with it.
Yeah, it's just a lower viscosity. Yeah, it's more trowel grade. It won't run down off the wall. Yeah, you'd be surprised how much color plays into these liquids.
Yeah.
About just if I can visually tell it's thick enough, or if there's a void or a tear or a damaged area. Sometimes those darker colors can kind of blend in. I'm seeing, like, again, the modern architecture, the recessed windows. As we get into continuous insulation, we're having to bump out windows. All those complicate the waterproofing or the envelope. So the liquid makes some of that a lot easier. Yeah, so absolutely, it's a good example of why you want to maybe consider this type of application.
From the weatherization standpoint and the similarity of, well, let's say a commercial building or a high-rise, I mean, a lot of those have very little overhangs as well. I think it's so similar, and I think it really has to be approached as such. So that's why we've jumped headfirst in on this one. We did the full coverage, and then as you spoke to, we did the ventilation back behind all of our cladding. And what's some of the reasoning of doing that ventilation?
It's first and foremost, any wall, when it gets into moisture management, the first thing you need to do is let it drain. Water litigation is still the #1 litigation out there in construction.
Right.
That's the #1 thing you want to be best at with your envelope, is managing water. And anytime you add an airspace, you've enhanced the ability for water to drain, more effectively and more quickly. And the more we get claddings on the wall, like stuccos or hardy sidings or something that are, tied up to the surface of the wall, there's minimal airspace there, and allowing that space allows water to drain faster. Put a little air ventilation behind it, you even dry it out even faster. So it's just it's a good long-term ability to make a wall last longer, and to make your cladding probably last longer as well.
And one may ask, like, why we would want to invest in hitting the whole surface with this, when maybe you've seen some of my other videos where we don't hit the whole surface and we just focus on the joints and seams, and we've got some sort of other weatherization membrane that we're utilizing for the other areas. But what I would say is kind of what you were saying here, with this being high risk, to me, the fact that we do not have the overhangs, which is gonna be a big variable anytime you're evaluating what sort of system you should use on a home. And this particular project, it's very modern, it's very sharp, very minimal overhang. So I mean, it really has the potential to take a beating, that cladding, so it needs to be prepared for it, right?
Yeah, it's belt and suspenders, redundancy. Yeah, you really need to put these extra layers and these extra control layers in your wall.
So what are some of the new things on the horizon? You kind of mentioned that there was a merger.
Yeah.
And so tell me about any of the new stuff on the horizon, if there's anything that you can put out there today.
Well, I did just learn, it's now DuPont. Dow and DuPont are, been classically the two largest global science companies in the nation. If you notice, what DuPont's always kind of had the weatherization side of things in the construction world, and then Dow's, their emphasis was more on the thermal. So, being that we're getting to weatherization, air control, but then thermals, you got the four aspects we're always trying to deal with: water, air, vapor, now thermal. They're all part of what we're doing here in these higher performance buildings these days. So we're going to have a really robust, complete system from roof to below grade, and it's going to be water, air, thermal, any kind of product, any kind of system probably, and just a more complete system altogether.
Thank you for turning me on to it. Thank you for representing Tyvek and DuPont and really bringing it to the table and making sure that we had confidence going into that, because it's done a lot for me on many levels.
Yeah, well, thank you too. I mean, it's not going away, right? The energy efficiency, the code, they're all changing. This is the route we're going to be building for a long time now, and And it's people like you that are not afraid to step out and try something new and try to step up the game and try to help be a leader. Yeah, because this is where it's going to be for a long time going forward. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it
been
really
fun.
is. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks,
Yeah,
Corey.
thanks guys. Appreciate it.